So this has been an absolutely insane election cycle. So it's necessary, even though this stream that I'm cutting this video from is not that old, to add a little update. So when I record this stream, Biden was the presumptive Democratic nominee. He has since dropped down, and the presumptive nominee is right now Kamala Harris. That won't be set in stone until the convention, which is coming up. And goddamn, like so much has changed this election. It might change again. I doubt it though. It's probably going to be Harris. Um, so just keep that in mind when watching this video. I'm still talking as though Biden is the major Democratic candidate running. He is not. So just to wrap up real fast, please make sure to like and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. All the algorithm stuff is so important. The Chuds exploit it so much. And it's important that you also engage with the algorithm stuff as well if you genuinely want to fight them. And Harris 2024.
Because people, blue MAGA, blue Anon, they're all arguing you can't tell Biden to drop out because...
Blue MAGA. So he's talking like Democrats and Republicans are the same, which is insane at this point. So Republicans have been pushed so far to the right that they are just bigots and complete pieces of shit. Like, there are actually some Republicans that refuse to vote for Trump right now because of how insane his... There are sensible Republicans, actually principal Republicans, who refuse to support or back Trump. And now Kavernacle, even though he just said Trump would be terrible to be elected and do some terrible stuff, all of a sudden in this few moments he is equating both Biden and Trump and MAGA and blue MAGA. I'm sorry, I have not really seen behavior from Democrats that equates to anything like MAGA. I have seen lots of people overly defending Biden. I will say that, but it's not remotely to the same angle as fucking MAGA. Fuck, MAGA would do anything for Trump. It's disturbing. Now, if you already dislike these anti-woke grifters and want to know how to fight them, there is something easy you can do right now. I know it sounds self-serving, but liking this video, commenting, and subscribing to this channel do help take algorithm space away from these grifters. Now, if you remember Kavernacle, he's somebody I covered like a year ago. Like, it was a while ago. And his coverage, he covered... I don't remember exactly what he covered, what the main topic was, but it was kind of shocking. I remember the main argument he said that I just unbelievably disagreed with was that, well, government should do free speech like Russia does, because Russia lets people do pretty much all the free speech they want as long as they don't criticize the government too much. And his response was, "You see, that's what we should do because that's okay." And it was just like, whoa. I'm sorry. Like, I think the most important thing to do with free speech is criticize the government. That is the most important thing to do. You gotta criticize the government. Oh yeah, here it is. How capitalism ruined the MCU, not wokeness. Which, technically, I would consider a true statement. Let's see what he says.
And I used to say this all the time when people, back when Russia was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And they'd say, "Oh, but aren't you so glad that you're in America?" I said, "Well, I know a lot of Russian filmmakers. They have a lot more freedom than I have. All they have to do is be careful about criticizing the government. Otherwise, they can do anything they want."
And so what do you have to do?
You have to adhere to a very narrow line of commercialism.
And George Lucas definitely isn't wrong, because if you watch some clips of old Soviet films, often the stuff you see is so ahead of American films, and it's just pretty amazing, like the techniques they employ, especially to do with like all the extras and the camera work. It really is something very interesting to watch. How movies made outside of the film capitalist market really have this ability to take chances. Sure, they can't criticize the government, but beyond that, they are free to do a lot of stuff that capitalist filmmakers in the West couldn't do. And to make my point even further is Eternals, Marvel's The Eternals, was hyped up. This is going to win Oscars. This is Marvel hiring Chloe Zhao, who just made the critically acclaimed Nomadland, and
I mean, that's pretty much a shit take. So listen, capitalism is fucking over art. Capitalism fucks over art all the time. You cannot say, oh, it would be better if we were just a Russian system where, the art can do whatever it wants as long as it doesn't criticize the government. That is absolutely insane. Just insane. Anyways, let me see. What video was being referenced? Let me check this out. All right. It is actually this one. We'll have to see how, like, this isn't quite the topic I thought,
Wix
but
gives you the power.
the biggest conservative dating app is a huge failure, but there's a dark twist. Let's see.
Only two options, ladies and gentlemen. The Right Stuff is all about getting into the right dating pool with people who share the same values and beliefs as you. You'll start off by building your perfect profile. No pronouns necessary.
So I'm the one who created a fake Republican profile on the Republican dating app called The Right Stuff. And I've been showing you guys some of the ridiculous profiles that I found, but now I get to show you some of the conversations. This guy goes, and I said, yeah, there's something about the altitude that makes everybody here want universal health care. Then he claps back with this horrifying answer. Not sure if it's just the altitude that makes them want that, because everyone here also wants universal health care. Though that's probably because they're either some immigrant from a whole country, you okay with cursing, some obsessed thug, or some gender ideology major.
Liberal on a dinner date.
You know, they don't split checks here, so I'll throw it on my card and you can Venmo me later. We'll split it.
I believe it's John Oliver covers this a little bit on his Trump second term episode. I highly recommend checking that out.
Right down the center.
Liberal man on a lunch date.
It's so funny that he thought I got the burger. Yum! My pronouns are he, him.
So I have made a fair few videos on this channel about conservative dating apps, and more recently about like conservative men just increasingly going insane, and talking about like conservative women either renouncing their former trad wife lives like Lauren Southern, or just basically complaining about misogyny on the right, which, most people would expect. But today I want to talk about something I made a video on, I think a year and a half ago now, a dating app called The Right Stuff. And I know a couple people have covered this since, like much bigger creators, but there's an interesting wrinkle to this in that the guy who made this app, it appears they've purged all the tweets. He's joined the Heritage Foundation and is helping them with Project 2025, which I want to talk about as well, because there's two things in that, of course, it does sound terrible. And also we're seeing people like Joe Biden tweet Google Project 2025. And I just find that interesting. So I want to talk about that as well. And also I found a TikToker who actually signed up to the app and used it and just like documented their experience. So I wanted to share that too, because yeah, conservative men really aren't doing okay. And I guess in America, the landscape is different because especially for Gen Z people, we have something called shy Tories, right? People who pretend they aren't conservative and would maybe not even ever say they vote conservative, but maybe you kind of know it, or maybe they might surprise you. But because increasingly Gen Z are more left-wing, being conservative is less popular. And especially on dating apps now, you can actually put in stuff about politics. It makes sense for...
I'm not gonna lie, like obviously I do the dating apps. I'm single, so I do the dating apps. Occasionally I match with a woman and there will be some wild right-wing stuff on there, like there are only two genders and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, so I matched with you, but we are not conversing. I am out.
Especially guys who across Gen Z are leaning more right than women are, to lie about their politics. But that's why I find it fascinating in America. They just like straight up say the most insane shit on dating apps, as we're going to look at today. So all of that coming up for you today. Please follow me on social media at the Kavernacle on my Instagram page. And
like I just said, like I will see some insane shit on women's dating apps. I'm sure the men's dating or the women's profiles on dating apps. So I'm sure the men's profiles are way fucking worse.
Personal and my travel Instagram. Also, check me out on Threads and Blue Sky and consider becoming a patron. Trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible. Benefits include
Jesus Christ, he's got a decent following, which is frustrating for some of his shit takes.
because I'm going to take it from that old video.
And I want to stress, like, if we break it down, like opinion versus opinion, I probably agree with him more than I disagree. But man, he's got some shit takes. Some shit takes where I'm like, whoa, fuck off.
But I'm well aware from my analytics, most people who watch a new video of mine aren't subscribed to me, so it's very unlikely you would have seen that old video, and even if you had subscribed to me, you probably haven't as well. So basically, there was a conservative dating app, or I guess there still is one, called The Right Stuff, and it was launched, I think, in 2022, filled with like really, really cringy adverts. So I think I'm going to play two for you. There's one where, I mean, look, of course, these women are probably not...
I'm not gonna lie, I'll be kind of interested in seeing what he says about The Right Stuff dating app, because it sounds fucking awful.
conservative and they're actresses, but they're talking about what they look for on a dating app in regards to men, and they all, funnily enough, want conservative men adhering to traditional patriarchal, I guess, gender norms put on men, and that's what they can find on The Right Stuff, because I guess all the other dating apps are filled with liberals drinking soy lattes and having man buns or something. And there's another ad I want to play you, just like apparently some testimony, which is just like the most bizarre video I've seen and doesn't really seem like a good advertisement for a dating app.
Today, we brought in a group of conservative young women and wanted to get their honest opinions about what they're looking for in the guys they date. What are you looking for in a partner?
They just have to be a conservative. Definitely someone that wants to have kids.
I like an independent man.
Personally, I like the alpha male vibe.
I want a man who really loves his family.
Definitely someone whose faith is important to them.
For me, it's someone who actually wants to meet my parents.
Why do you want to date a conservative?
For me, at least I know that we're going to start off with some shared values.
Well, the conservative men I've dated at least know how to treat me like a woman.
In my personal experience, conservative guys have better manners.
I like that they understand their role in the relationship as a man. I just prefer my men to be masculine.
And what's the biggest red flag when it comes to dating?
A Democrat.
No Democrats.
A Democrat. Can't be a Democrat. A Democrat. That's easy. A Democrat.
No Democrats. So no.
By the way, these women are the only women on the dating site. And it's 2,000 men.
Find the right match. Download The Right Stuff today.
You're conservative. It's a tough dating landscape out there. There's really no way to meet somebody that's like-minded, that shares very similar morals to you. Conservative women can be hard to find, but they are out there. And I found them by joining The Right Stuff. This app is so much more than just an app. It's really a movement. It gives you a chance to be yourself. When you join The Right Stuff, your dating life will completely change. It's about conservatives sticking together.
So yeah, the advertising was cringy. There's been a lot of conservative dating apps that have seemed to all fail pretty quickly. And this seems to be no exception, because there was lots of reports that the sign-ups were low, even though it was backed by people like Peter Thiel, and obviously the guy who ran it, which we're going to talk about, used to work in the Trump White House, John McEntee. And as we're going to talk about later, and as we've talked about previously, has made the brand's pages on social media into his own like personal social media, which I think is really strange. But also, this guy claims he came up with the idea because he couldn't find any conservative women in like DC who would date him, which I think says a lot. What you saw with a lot of these apps, the advertising was, oh, people felt like they had to censor themselves from their conservative values because it would turn especially women off. So here is now an app where like you don't have to do this, and unsurprisingly, most of these apps were just completely filled with dudes. Yeah. Because as we're seeing with conservative women, and I've talked about this a lot, no matter how much women you play into conservative talking points, or you even genuinely believe what conservative men are saying, they're never going to accept you, right? Because they see you fundamentally as inferior, and most of them probably want you to just stay at home and look after their children and basically have no rights. Even lately, Obviously, they're talking about getting rid of no-fault divorce. They're talking about even really fringe stuff like getting rid of women's right to vote and stuff. So I guess a few conservative women are waking up to those old liberal feminists who probably like did have a point in what they were saying and helped get you some semblance of equality under this patriarchal system, which, you know, we enjoy in places like the UK and America. It's not perfect, of course, but they're seeing that the alternative that these men want to drag you back to is actually worse than what you have now. And also, I recognise you can get a lot of normal people who like lean conservative because of like maybe their culture.
So I don't want to go into it too much because I don't really like talk about my dating life, but I did. I have gone out with somebody who's more conservative leaning. It just wasn't identified on their page. We went out a few times. I don't want to get into details, but I could tell stories. They were very out there, very, I guess, open to a degree, but also it was interesting. So, like, even though we disagreed, like, they were willing to, like, go along with most everything I said for the most part. And I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Very frisky. Very, it was an interesting experience. I'll just say that. Very interesting. Didn't last long.
Cultural upbringing, or maybe they're religious or something like that. At the same time, even a lot of these people are really turned off from these like wacko conservatives because, yeah, saying like I want kids and I want to get married in the church isn't the same as, you know, men saying you will stay at home and never leave and just exist to basically cook my dinner and have my children and stuff. But again, that's what conservatives are now saying. So thankfully, although I as a British person can't even sign up for this app, a TikTok user called Anaconda309 has been documenting her journey on the app. I'll link her TikTok profile page because she has like 25 different videos on this, but I just want to share like a few with you, mainly her conversations with potential dates, which I just think are really, really interesting. So let's look at them.
So I'm the one who created a fake Republican profile on the Republican dating app called The Right Stuff. And I've been showing you guys some of the ridiculous profiles that I found, but now I get to show you some of the conversations. This guy goes, Colorado is so liberal, not as bad as New York though. And I said, yeah, there's something about the altitude that makes everybody here want universal health care. Then he claps back with this horrifying answer. Not sure if it's just the altitude that makes them want that because everyone here also wants universal health care. Though that's probably because they're either some immigrant from a whole country, you okay with cursing, some obsessed thug, or some gender ideology major? So we've got what, racism, classism, and sexism all in one message? So this guy mentioned wanting a feminine woman in his profile. So I asked, how do you define a feminine woman? And he said, someone that has respect for themselves and doesn't subscribe to modern social norms and respects her partner, not seeking attention all the time from others. Pretty basic stuff that people understand 20 years ago, LOL. And I've been showing you guys some of the profiles of the men that I found on here. All right, let's start with this novel. Jesus is number 1. I'm very masculine with traditional Christian values. Swipe accordingly. What do you get when you take a poor farm boy from an excellent Christian family in rural Alabama and run him through the Ivy Leagues, Wall Street, and a PhD? Exactly what you expect, yet nothing like you expect. Yeah. Right, here's the good stuff. My future wife believes her highest calling in life is to be a wife and mother, but her other interests and ambitions are welcome. I'm one of 5 in family to play college football. Fair warning in case being a mother to athlete.
There's nothing wrong with being a wife and mother, but I just think it's weird if that's your highest calling. I mean, it's being a parent is amazing, but like, what?
It doesn't sound appealing. I don't care about lots of matches or dates. I care about shared values and vision. And here are the answers to the prompts. I'm weirdly attracted to women who are even more conservative, traditional, or old-fashioned than me. It takes an incredibly strong woman to be traditional and feminine in today's culture.
Go check out her like long TikTok playlist on this. And yeah, like as you can see probably there, a lot of conservative men, like the reason you have trouble dating is pretty much described in that profile you see. Like, all that like stuff you're talking about, how self-obsessed you are, talking about your achievements. And I've actually noticed this in other videos I've made about conservatives dating. Do you remember that man who was saying like, oh, I'm like 50 something, in good shape, I own my own property, blah, 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 I still can't get a date? Because they literally think, and I feel sad for some of them, they get told you get all these like achievements and a woman will just fall into your lap based on the achievements that you played, like college football, you know, you got a good education and stuff. Yeah, like a lot of women like don't give a shit about that if you're actually a terrible person. And talking about the athletic stuff as well, red flag in my opinion, because it again shows that you still haven't stopped this vanity. But of course, the worst element to that is like, I expect you to be a mother to my children and just serve as my wife in a traditional role. And I guess in the right stuff is the place where they can just really say that, because they expect all the women in this app to be people who would be up for that. But I would even say the 10 women who sincerely signed up to the right stuff for dating, I would even say most of them wouldn't want to do this either. Because most women in Western countries, although they might maybe fall into this role eventually, like my own mum was a stay-at-home mum, pretty traditional role she served. We're not like really religious, it just kind of worked out that way. But if you tell women on like the first date, this is what I want from you, I'm pretty sure most British and American women like aren't going to be okay with that. And you wonder why this app wasn't doing amazing. And I think this is proved by, the Twitter page for The Right Stuff has been completely wiped because the head of it, John McEntee, joined the Heritage Foundation, like I said, to do the Project 2025 stuff. Now, before we talk about him and Project 2025, basically this guy used to be like some sort of like actual assistant to Donald Trump in terms of like carrying his stuff. And then he was forced to resign or he was fired because the FBI found out he had loads of gambling debt, which means he could probably be easily compromised by like a foreign government and stuff. But then because he was like a high school athlete, I think Donald Trump liked him and then like rehired him at the end of his presidency. And he became like really high up in the Trump administration, mainly dealing with the hiring of personnel. There's a technical term for it. It's in one of the articles. I forgot specifically. And there was another story I read where he would basically use his position to hire conservative female influencers that he could try and hook up with. Like, I'm not joking. And then also other people who worked with him just said he was like a complete idiot, basically. But because of those connections, that's why he was able to start a dating app. And it's probably why he's in the Heritage Foundation now, and it's probably why he'll be in the next Trump administration. But you guys would have probably seen him, probably most famously, is because he uses the Right Stuff's TikTok page and Instagram page as his personal social media, and it actually gets like quite a lot of engagement. It seems like this guy must have designed a dating app just to become some sort of conservative social media influencer. And also, I want to talk about this, and it's something I've been thinking about recently. Conservatives basically nearly coming around to the anti-capitalist viewpoint, right? Because the stuff they're complaining about, but they only use as critiques when their party isn't in power. Because when Donald Trump was president, which this guy served under, he would do the exact same stuff. You'd have the exact same problems. So you're just basically being a hypocrite. But I want you to like look at some of these TikToks. Obviously, there's loads of like racist, transphobic, anti-vax stuff on there. Pretty par for the course of American conservatives these days. But
so far, he hasn't said anything offensive, and I do think the dating stuff's kind of interesting. Oh, we're most way through, so let's see. I haven't pre-watched this, so to my understanding, there's going to be cringe takes, and I'm pretty sure what they're on, but we will get to it. He has brought it up.
But I want to focus on these ones I just talked about.
Can you guys fix the roads we pay taxes for? Best we can do is paint rainbows on them. You need to buy medical insurance. Why? I'm healthy. Because if something happens to you, you'll have to spend thousands of dollars. But the insurance is thousands of dollars. Trust us, it's worth it if something happens. Okay, something happened. Can you pay? No. You need to spend $20,000 first. So banks can go crazy if you owe them a...
The fuck? That was actually a decent critique of the insurance system. The fuck? No.
$1. But when they crash the entire financial market and request $100 billion, that's totally chill. I can't.
Oh my God, that was actually a base take. And they're all using it for their bullshit, though. That's the problem with the right-wing shit. They will have some, like, there's these kernels of truth, these things that they will do that, like, oh, well, that's true. And then, you know, they will spin bullshit and come to the wrong conclusion. It's a frustrating thing with conservatives.
Can't afford a home, I don't feel safe, groceries are way too expensive, my entire neighborhood is filled with homeless people. Best I can do is ban TikTok. Always get the extra
Yeah, that one was kind of cringe.
side of orange chicken, just in case. Imagine being one of our politicians. You steal everyone's money and still end up 35 trillion in debt. If we need illegal aliens to do
Well, we're getting cringe.
the jobs Americans won't do, who did all these jobs before we had illegal aliens?
So in my opinion, this guy might feel this way about some of these things, but it's clear he's trying to appeal to like Gen Z people on TikTok who might feel this way about their government because, yeah, you're talking about medical insurance. You worked for Donald Trump, who tried to even destroy Obamacare, which already was a very corporatized form of healthcare.
Yes, it was.
So what's your solution to medical insurance, right? So in this guy's case, he's saying it's a scam, and I would agree. But is Donald Trump going to pass universal health care when he's the president? The president that you formerly worked under and you'll probably work for again? No? So what is the actual solution? I bet people like this just say, yeah, don't use medical insurance and maybe some BS pseudoscience will see you through most of your life healthy. But for most people, when you get older, you're going to need help from the government's like medical programs, and what's going to happen then? And even he was talking about like, you know, all these problems under Biden, but they just banned TikTok. Again, all those problems exist under Donald Trump as well. What's the actual solution? Yeah, the US government is terrible for not doing that, but that's because the system is terrible, right? Because your president did that as well. And even the thing about he calls them illegal aliens, talking about illegal immigrants to the US doing jobs no one wants to do, is just so funny to me, because obviously he's coming at it from a xenophobic talking point. But if you want to talk about it economically, why do rich people love illegal immigrants working at their businesses, including Donald Trump? Because you can pay them less. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Because they come from poorer countries and the wages are still better from the stuff they earn back home, so they're willing to do harder jobs with terrible working conditions, and loads of the US economy is actually propped up by this labour. So the answer of why so many undocumented immigrants do jobs that Americans used to do is because the capitalist class want to save even more money and exploit cheaper labour, the same way they moved so many domestic jobs abroad just to save themselves more money. And even talking about bank bailouts, like Donald Trump gave the biggest tax break to the rich ever, and you're talking about bank bailouts like you disagree with them? Like, come on. It's just like, obviously, we know of Donald Trump, faux populism, but even now, he's not even doing that shit anymore. That's like the 2016 Donald Trump who might say shit like that to try and get into the White House. Now they just say absolutely unhinged shit all the time. Both candidates, to be fair, but Donald Trump more. But
how does Joe Biden say unhinged shit? Like, you notice how he dropped that in there, right? Like, he's talking about Donald Trump saying unhinged shit, then he's like, both candidates, to be fair. Like, are you talking about because of his age? Joe Biden's not quite all the way there? If so, maybe, but like, I would still not equate it to Donald Trump's unhinged shit. That's weird equating them.
But this guy is going to be in the Trump White House again, likely, if they keep running with Joe Biden. Now, he is still posting a lot on his social media accounts because wants to make these stupid sketches where he eats food all the time. Of course, yeah, like I said, he has loads of like really racist, xenophobic, anti-vax, all that shit on there as well. But I've covered that more in the last video. But the Heritage Foundation posted this last year. So former PPO director John McEntee joins Project 2025. So they say the former director of the White House Presidential Personal Office in the Trump administration is joining the 2025 Presidential Transition Project as a senior advisor. He will play a vital role supporting the personnel pillar of Project 2025, embracing the motto that personnel is policy. Project 2025 is launching the database to collect resumes and vet thousands of potential applicants in advance of January 20th, 2025, when the next president takes office. Organised by Heritage, Project 2025 is more than 50 of the nation's leading conservative groups joining forces to make sure the next conservative president is ready on day one. Paul Dans, director of Project 2025 and former chief of staff at the US Office of Personnel Management, said,
there's a fantastic piece on John Oliver, pretty much on Project 2025. I guess not exclusively, but it's called Trump's Second Term. I highly recommend checking it out. One of the key things it talks about is how, so like most people who work in the government just have government job. There's a few thousand posts that the president picks, but then there's like 10,000 or so that are just jobs, government employee jobs that are just there no matter the administration. Part of Project 2025 is to make them all government jobs, make them all government appointees so they can replace everybody with essentially right-wing stooges. Obviously, there's essentially the plan to make Trump the dictator, eliminate elections, eliminate trans people. I'm sure gay marriage is in there. Abortion is absolutely in there. Abortion will be absolutely outlawed. There is so much scary with Project 2025, and it doesn't matter if Trump denounces it, because Trump is an empty vessel. Trump doesn't care about anybody but Trump. He is doing this for self-aggrandizement. That's it. He's doing it because he wants to be president. That's it. He has no bold vision for the future. So all he's going to do is take the money from people like Heritage Foundation and do what they say. That's it. So, like, do I think Trump gets into office and Project 2025 to the letter gets implemented? Absolutely not. But if 50% of it gets implemented, that's devastating damage to our country and unacceptable. And even if I were to put Project 2025 aside and say, none of it's going to happen, none of it at all. Supreme Court justices. Trump got 3 fucking picks in his first 4 years. 3 in a 4-year period. Obama had 3 picks in 8 years. Biden's had 1. Biden's 1 is fantastic. Ketanji Brown Jackson is my favorite Supreme Court justice. She is amazing. But unfortunately, the conservative supermajority can overrule anything the centrist or even the center-right people say. Even John Roberts, who occasionally votes the right way, who is super conservative, he's a Bush pick, but he's super conservative, he occasionally votes the right way. Even if he joins the other 3, it doesn't matter. It's a 5-1 4 out. Supreme Court is fucked. And Alito and Clarence Thomas are really fucking old. There's a very good chance the next president will be picking their successors. And that will swing the Supreme Court. Do we want Trump just picking people really far right again? Or do we want Biden to actually have more picks like Ketanji Brown Jackson? Or whoever, like, I'll be blunt, even if it's not Biden, because Biden is fucking old and frankly, he should retire. I feel like the deal with Biden right now is that, like, it's like a grandmother with their car. There's a point where they don't want to give it up, but you kind of have to tell them they need to give it up. I think Biden should give it up. Kamala Harris doesn't thrill me, but fuck it. Like, she's better than Trump. And she's with it. She's cognitively with it. I'll be blunt. Like if I vote for Biden, it's not a vote for Biden. It's a vote against Trump. And I will vote against Trump, period.
The 47th president must and will confront the deep state and will turn to John McEntee to do so. We're thrilled he's joined the project to ensure the next president is ready. So if you guys haven't heard of what Project 2025 is, let me outline it for you from a Guardian report. So Project 2025 details across more than 900 pages how Trump and his allies could dismantle and disrupt the US government. It suggests ridding the federal ranks of many appointed roles and stacking agencies instead with more political appointees aligned with and more beholden to Trump's policy prescriptions. Led by the Heritage Foundation, the project showcases a federal government that cracks down intensely on immigration, LGBT, diminishes environmental protections, overhauls financial policy, and takes aggressive action against China. So there's loads of like different things you can see online, just like graphics of what they want to do. And Joe Biden said today, Google Project 2025. If you look into it, it's basically what groups like the Koch brothers have always wanted, just a massive deregulation of the US government, but also combined with more conservative values influenced by religion, so cracking down on LGBT rights. And obviously it's like bizarre that the guy I've showed you who ran this terrible dating app is going to be like so involved with this basic move to fascism by the US government. But one thing I want to say about this is, of course, like, you know, Donald Trump's next presidency, is obviously terrible for the world. I'll say that. Like, I don't want it to happen personally. I'm most worried for me about potential conflicts around the world and, of course, the environmental destruction caused by the US and the further deregulation of the environmental agencies like the EPA, which Trump did before. I think it was Scott Pruitt, who used to be like a fossil fuel lobbyist, was the head of the EPA, basically deregulated and destroyed loads of rules to protect the US environment, right? So I'm worried about that. But if I'm going to be critical, Project 2025 is just the newest fear-mongering by Democrats, make you vote for them without them doing anything, which they don't want to do anything because they're in bed with the exact same lobbying groups, mostly, as the Republicans. So it's such a convenient scapegoat, and I've seen it come up a lot recently.
Yeah, so that is a really bad take. So he's calling it convenient fear-mongering, and it's downplaying. Like, he's already talking about the damage it would do, but then it's like, oh, but it's not a big deal. The fuck? Like, the fuck, man. Listen, if the Heritage Foundation didn't construct Project 2025, make a big deal out of it, then Democrats wouldn't have anything to run against. And you know what? I would love it if Democrats were actually running a positive campaign. We'll give you universal health care. We'll give you a government paid for education. I think that's necessary. But the fact is, Trump and the Trump and the Republicans are being such fucking boogeymen about all this. Like there's that Daily Wire clip. Let me dig that up real fast. I think Dane did a short on it. But there's that Daily Wire clip that is absolutely fucking terrifying. I'll bring that up real fast. And yes, there was a shooting at the Trump rally. It's not clear if Trump was shot or not. Yeah, all the conservatives are well, I guess lots of people are streaming it right now. I'm the alternative. I am the alternative. I am not streaming it because it's not my main thing. Anyways,
we can't find any solution to our cultural and political problems through the political system, and that perhaps it's time to look to older systems, strongman, monarchy, even dictator.
The right is doing every single fucking thing they've been accusing the left of doing, which is really, they typically just mean like goddamn Democrats, for years. They're doing it all. They've been doing it all. They've been saying that the left wants to fucking take away democracy. They want to end fucking America as we know it, end freedoms. I have never seen the third most popular fucking left-wing, even Democrat fucking aligned media outlet having a fucking sit-down conversation about ending democracy, man. Daily Wire is about the third most popular after like Newsmax and Fox News. These guys are essentially mainstream. They're talking about ending fucking democracy, man. To whatever limited, broken, fucking flawed, degree that we have it, right? Like, I'm not sitting here saying we got perfect democracy. We don't. We got some, and some's better than none, I'd say.
We can't find any solution to our cultural and political problems through
so like lots of conservatives are talking about pretty much just ending democracy. And it's fucked up.
Because people, Blue MAGA, Blue Anon, they're all arguing you can't tell Biden to drop out because...
Blue MAGA. So he's talking like Democrats and Republicans are the same, which is insane at this point. So Republicans have been pushed so far to the right that they are just bigots and complete pieces of shit. Like, there are actually some Republicans that refuse to vote for Trump right now because of how insane his... There are sensible Republicans, actually... principal Republicans who refuse to support or back Trump. And now Kavernacle even though he just said Trump would be terrible to be elected and do some terrible stuff, all of a sudden in this few moments, he is equating both Biden and Trump and MAGA and blue MAGA. I'm sorry. I have not really seen behavior from Democrats that equates to anything like MAGA. I have seen lots of people overly defending Biden. I will say that, but it's not remotely to the same angle as fucking MAGA. Fuck, MAGA would do anything for Trump. It's disturbing.
Because he has the best chance of beating Donald Trump, which is just strictly not true based on polling data. Joe Biden is not only going to lose the White House, he's probably going to make Democrats lose the Congress and the Senate because of all these states based on his performance as president and his performance in the debate going to Republicans, because he just seems like such an old, frail president. And I've said before, as someone who's had people with Parkinson's in my family, he looks like he has some sort of illness that might be similar to that, to be honest. And if you're suffering from that, you are not capable of being president. That's not to say Donald Trump should be president. I don't want that at all, of course. But Project 2025 to me is just like, you know, I don't need a label on it. That's just going to happen anyway. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, a Donald Trump...
Oh. So all LGBTQ people are just going to lose their rights, but it's just going to happen anyway. So, you know, fuck it. Go ahead and vote for Trump. What the fuck take is this? This is ridiculous. Yes, I am not a fan of Biden at all. At all. And you know, maybe if he moves aside and we get Kamala Harris, okay, sure. I don't care. We cannot vote for Trump. Trump cannot be let in. Because if Trump is let in, that could be the end of votes. The end of democracy. Let's just get unhinged capitalism. Hell, I thought this guy was anti-capitalism. Which, by the way, capitalism, I don't know if I'm firmly anti-capitalism, but fucking regulate the shit out of it. I'm firmly anti-late-stage capitalism. This shit we're going through right now, fuck this.
Presidency is going to be terrible, but the hysteria the Dems whip up around like certain issues to make sure they never have to promise you anything. Like, what is Joe Biden campaigning on? Can someone in the comments...
Yeah, no, he is campaigning on not being Donald Trump, which is frustrating. Joe Biden does have some achievements. He's not perfect. He does have some achievements. This is something that'll be run against him, but it's something I think he did was really based. He pulled the troops out of Afghanistan. There was no good way to do that. That was going to be a messy, sloppy thing, and he sucked it up, and he took the hit, and he did it. Fucking based. Fucking based. Like, there's no good way to do it, and he just said, fuck it, we're doing it. Fucking awesome. He has been pro-union with the exception of the railway workers, which kind of pissed me off, although he did okay with them at the end. It wasn't... Still, like, signing into law that they can't strike was bullshit. But that being said, he has been largely pro-union, and that is fantastic. He has some fantastic appointees in the labor office who have really helped unions, really helped a lot of unions get really good contracts for their workers over the past few years, which is needed with inflation. There's been lots of really good stuff Biden has done. Trump gets into office, a lot of that's going to get repealed and reversed, and being trans or having a woman having a right to control her body will be illegal. And this guy wants to both sides it. It's like, dude, I get it. I wish the Democrats were running on a nice, positive platform. I do. But right now, the Republicans are running on their positive platform. Their policy positions they're pushing is fucking over women and minorities. That's it. And doing unhinged capitalism. Do not act like these two things are the same. Do not.
Comments, please outline 5 policies he is campaigning on. And even if it's in his manifesto or whatever, what has he actually promoted, right?
You've already established he's an old man who can barely get out a sentence. He is not in good shape, and I don't think he should be running. But he is better than Trump. No question.
Universal healthcare? Any of that stuff? Actually writing off people's student loans fully? Is he promising that? I remember that was a popular policy he promised last time. He's not...
I don't think he promised that. He promised to do a percentage of it, and I don't think he quite did that. I'm not saying Joe Biden's perfect. He's better than Trump, though.
Doing anything, because if you haven't realized it by now, Democrats, Republicans, most of them don't give a shit who wins. And for a lot,
That is the frustrating thing, but that to a degree is true. The elites, the powerful, don't really care, but the people who have to live under them, they're directly impacted by who's in power. Directly impacted. I'm not saying vote for Joe Biden because he deserves to be president and he deserves to win. I'm saying vote for Joe Biden because Trump will destroy the rights of women and minorities, absolutely wreck them. He will do unhinged capitalism, and he might even end democracy. These people are not the same and should not be treated equally.
a lot of Democratic politicians, they don't care either, because being in opposition, they get to make all these great speeches, continue to get the donor money, or they can just leave and get a consulting job, right? They serve the same masters, they serve capital and capitalism. Of course, it's scary Donald Trump will get in again if Joe Biden stays as president, but every bad thing Donald Trump's going to do, he was doing in his last presidency, right? So this incoming presidency isn't somehow like Trump's last administration on steroids. It's actually just going to be him completing what he did last time, right?
Oh my God, he is undermining. Okay, so I cannot stress this enough. Watch John Oliver on Donald Trump's second term. Watch it. It's very informative. The noteworthy stuff should be on YouTube. But the thing to keep in mind is that Trump wasn't expecting to win in 2016. It wasn't. It was like a promotional gimmick almost for his show. That was it. He got the Republican base all riled up, and they assumed Hillary would win. Hillary was ready to go. And then Trump won. Trump went in there and didn't know what the fuck to do. He didn't have appointees need. They had no idea how to run the country. And yeah, they did some terrible stuff during those 4 years, but they had no idea. They did not have a plan in place. Heritage Foundation has figured out a plan. If Trump wins, there will be a plan in place. That's why it is terrifying. It could be significantly worse than it was before. Significantly.
And yeah, that's a bad thing. That's something you should obviously not support. And I don't know any leftists who would support Trump getting in. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you should support someone who's clearly suffering from some sort of disease that will
Saying I support Joe Biden is a stretch. I am anti-Trump.
likely end his life in his next term if he gets elected again, when you could have another option. And also, just because the other guys are so bad.
Well, I've already talked about C Movie Studios. I hope he recovers. I hope he heals so he can lose in November. That's the important thing. I do not want violence is never ever the answer. I know in January 6th they were ready to hang Mike Pence and they did, and his supporters did violence and he led that coup, and that was terrible. That was criminal. That's we have to be better than that on the other side. We have to show how we just, beat him at the polls. Well, I agree. Trump shouldn't win. And I also agree Biden isn't doing a good job to get voters either. I've already discussed Biden is mentally not there. I personally think Biden should step down. But no matter what, I'm going to vote against Trump. So whether or not it's Biden in that seat or Kamala Harris, which is really the only option at this point, they're getting my vote over Trump.
Doesn't mean you can't offer anything to the voters, right? I know that might work once or twice, seemed to work for Keir Starmer in the UK recently, but that's because he was opposing 14 years of Tory rule, which made this country so terrible. Joe Biden isn't doing that. He's the president. He won last time doing that, but now he's the president. He's done nothing. He's going to lose because of it. And
I won't say he's done nothing. He's done some decent stuff. Like I said, he has a great Supreme Court pick. He's been very pro-union. He has been supporting Ukraine. By the way, if Trump gets into office, Ukraine support ends. That's it. Trump will be like, I hate how Biden is supporting Israel, but Trump will just support them tenfold. Pretty much on every issue, even if Biden's bad on it, Trump will be worse.
fear-mongering about Project 2025 and all that shit, yeah, it might play well with some older people, but young people are sick of this. Young people are...
We are talking about women and minorities losing rights through Project 2025. And you're like, oh, they shouldn't be fear-mongering it. It's the Republican platform right now. Are you serious? No.
Sick of this game. And of course, because Joe Biden has literally been such a terrible president in mostly his support for Israel, that young people just don't want to be complicit in this anymore, right? So if you're offering...
That I already brought up. Yes, he sucks with his support for Israel. Trump's worse, and I cannot stress this enough. So Joe Biden's base is against him on Israel. Joe Biden's base is pro-ceasefire. For some reason, he's pushing the Israel stuff because it's kind of expected of politicians, and it's frustrating. It pisses me off. But it is what it is. Trump is for just destroying Palestinians, absolutely wiping out Palestinians. And his base is behind him. His base is 100% pro-Israel. So who do you think will have a bigger influence? Biden's base, who is pro-ceasefire and pushing him to not support Israel? Or Trump's base, who once he's in office will just be like, yeah, fucking give those bombs to Trump, to Israel. Dude, I don't like go full protest mode like people did in 2016, like The View. So The View has some cringe takes. I don't know why. Like, they're allowed to criticize Trump, though, if they so wish. Like, if you don't like it, just don't watch it. I don't get why people, like, I don't watch The View because I don't like most of their takes. They're quite bad, so I don't watch it. But I feel like lots of conservatives watch them and just seethe, and they think that that's like the Democratic base, and it's not. Anyways, I think it's weird to bring up The View. Will I protest Trump? Almost certainly, in some manner. I will definitely be pointing out policies and things that he does that I disagree with, at the very least. I don't know what I'll do if he wins. If he starts stripping away the rights of my friends, and there's not good answers to that. He can't win. He really can't win.
Offering them nothing apart from fear-mongering, oh my god, the other guy is so bad, which is literally Dem's only strategy since, like, what, 2008 or something, then people are just not going to vote for you, right? So yeah, I sympathize with my American followers. I obviously understand Project 2025 as like this manifesto is a terrible thing, but you always knew Donald Trump was going to be terrible, right? Why has the standard for Democratic candidates become so low? You're literally going to...
Because the standard for Republican candidates have become infinitely evil, pretty much.
Vote a guy in who not only supported everything Israel's doing right now, he's clearly sick. A sick old man who apparently can't actually do a full workday anymore. You want him to be the leader of the most powerful country in the world, right? No one does. So have your standards higher. He should be replaced. He should drop out, and hopefully he does. But going to people, oh my god, you have to support Biden because of Project 2025, it's not going to work. Everyone knows Trump's going to be bad. Just slapping a name on it and him tweeting about it isn't going to make people suddenly think, oh.
Yeah, so this is like diminishing the damage Project 2025 would do. This is an outrageously bad take, and I agree. I would like a candidate who's pushing positive change, like Bernie. God damn, I wish we had Bernie. But like diminishing and acting like Project 2025. Oh, it's just nothing. It'll just be the same old, same old. No. I'm not willing to risk it. I'm not willing to go to that. We have to vote against Trump as a country. And I don't even, this is just vile. Okay, so I will say the conservative dating app stuff was kind of entertaining in this, but like trying to diminish Project 2025 and ending his video on that is so dishonest and frustrating. I hope Trump recovers so he can be in good shape to lose in November to whoever he is running against. Violence is not the answer. I do like don't try to take out Trump, but we got to vote him out. And then we need to demand better of our Democratic leaders. We need to demand better of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, whoever goes into office. And guys, make sure to like and subscribe. hopefully in a few months, hopefully in November, democracy succeeds and we don't get Trump back in office in January, because we might be fucked then. It's a scary time to live in America.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.